This is TWiT.
Andy Rubin, the father of Android, unveiled his next effort, or his company's next effort in the mobile phone world, the Essential phone. That's the name. Premium specs that rival the Samsung Galaxy S8, a titanium body, which is pretty cool, so very durable, with a ceramic back, very not durable as far as I know about ceramic. Pure Android nougat, a near bezel-less screen design, and magnetic pins on the back, only for powering connected accessories that can add functionality to the device. That then transfers wirelessly back to the device. So, for example, the phone releases with an optional 360-degree camera module. It's $50 at launch. I think it's actually normally $200. Or at least that's what the site said. It seems kind of steep for me, but it snaps into place to draw power, and that data is sent back to the phone wirelessly. So the Essential phone is currently up for pre-order, $699.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, there's been a lot of hype around this phone. Andy Rubin, you know, you think of some of the smartest people in Silicon Valley and in consumer tech. You know, this is the guy that's basically, like you said, the father of Android.
Also the sidekick, he was
he did, which is really amazing. I mean, that was like that was a cultural touchstone in mobile phone computing. You know, and this phone, you know, the pogo pin idea for the back, I'm not sure people really want modular phones to begin with. Motorola's tried that. You know, Google has tried that before as well. But the pogo pins, that's something that Andy Rubin, back when he was at Google, was playing with on Nexus devices for quite a long time. That's kind of an old idea, and I'm not really sure people really want that. You know, the bezel-less thing, that's kind of where all phones are going. You expect to see that from a high-end phone these days. If you had a high-end phone that had a bunch of bezel, you'd be pissed, right? And I'm not totally sure that I like the way that it kind of, you know, use up around the camera. It
notches around the camera, which is a little. It
seems like a design compromise. I mean, this looks like a great phone, but it also looks like the sort of thing that could come from Samsung or LG or HTC, which I guess maybe that's a bit of a compliment for a company that really hasn't delivered anything yet.
Just launched, right?
But at the same time, you know, I want to see Andy Rubin break some new ground and deliver something and wow us. And this really just kind of feels like more of the same to me.
Yeah, I mean, dual cameras on the back. We've seen a lot of dual camera phones. One of them is a monochrome sensor, so that's better for kind of like low light shots, letting in more light. That's how it's being used here instead of that like bokeh thing, which which I mean, some people love, some people hate. It's compatible with all major U.S. carriers, so there's that. However, you won't be able to go into a carrier and buy this off the shelf. You're going to have to do it through their site. Burke thinks that it's too expensive.
It's like $700. The phone itself.
I mean, it's a premium Android smartphone in the marketplace right now, and it's their first take.
It's you know, like, what does this contribute to what smartphones are? Right? It's just like one more high-end option, but it doesn't really feel like it's pushing phones as a whole in meaningful new directions to me so far. But you know, we haven't gotten a chance to test it out. You know, I'd love to try it out and see if maybe there's something I'm missing. I'd really like to learn more about what they're calling the Ambient OS, which is their version of Android. I've always really loved stock Android. It's like the only version of Android I really genuinely enjoy using all of the time. And that was kind of Andy Rubin's baby for a long time. So I'm hoping that the Ambient OS keeps things simple, but, you know, to differentiate, they're going to have some different features.
Yeah,
too,
I mean, there was a good article in Wired that had a lot of kind of choice Andy Rubin quotes.
Yeah.
And one thing that he really stressed is that the Essential phone is the phone that he would make for himself. And he says he does this every time. When he designs a phone, he designs a phone that has everything that he would want. So there's no logo on this, for example.
Yeah.
So it's stock Android. So that tells me that
it is stock Android.
That's what he said in the interview. The Ambient OS actually relates, from what I can understand. I'm curious to know if there's interplay between the two efforts, though, to this next product that's also part of the announcement. Andy also unveiled an entirely new type of product, in quotes, with the Essential Home. It's a hockey puck-shaped home control device, similar in scope to, you know, the usuals.
The Google Home, the Amazon Echo.
Yeah, exactly. Controls music, setting timer, controlling smart home hardware, and also answering voice queries, so you can do searches. However, one key feature difference is that it runs most of its data crunching on the device itself. itself. So that's going to appeal to those who are privacy conscious but want a device like this. Includes a round display on the top, so you get that visual feedback. And this is, in fact, running Essential's Ambient OS. So I'm very curious to know what is the line between Ambient OS on this versus, is that what they call the OS layer on the Essential phone? He says that it's close to stock, so maybe Ambient OS is a very close, if not near, identical to stock version of the OS. It's just they're utilizing it more in the home.
Yeah, just as disappointed, or maybe meh, as I feel about the phone, I am actually genuinely excited about the Essential Home because of that privacy protection. That's really the only reason. Now, the fact that that is such a differentiator and so important, I think, is a bit sad compared to what Google's doing with the Google Home, what Amazon does with the Echo speaker. But privacy does matter, and as we give up more and more information about ourselves, what we're doing, where we're at, who we're with, what we're consuming, to these companies, it's more and more of an ask of trust. And I think it's interesting here that coming from Google, a company that's really built on you giving all of that trust to a company. Just immense amount of trust. Now he's delivering something that has a focus on privacy, which is very un-Google-like, and dare I say almost Apple-like. Like that's kind of what you would expect a differentiating factor to be if Apple ever delivers the rumored Siri speaker or whatever, right? So that's really interesting. I'd be excited to see how that works, and also if it's compatible with only this phone, or if it's compatible with other stuff, point. Or it sounds like it's going to be
widely compatible.
Yeah,
it better be.
It sounds like
it's
going to
wants to have any sort of chance whatsoever,
right? Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be compatible with like Nest and all those sorts of things,
for sure.
But it's an interesting combo.
Yeah, and also this is kind of a unique take on this as well. We were talking about the modules on the Essential phone. Those will work, like basically Andy Rubin says, if we're creating a modular ecosystem, we want those modules to follow you on no matter what device we use. So they work for the phone. They also work for the home. I don't know why you need a 360-degree camera to snap into your home, but maybe that extends the functionality of that type of device beyond what we're used to thinking about it. Mere couple of years into that device category even existing. Maybe 360-degree camera, as one example, has a particular use case for being clipped to a home device like this. And we just have never thought of it before. You know what I mean? So he's taking that idea of modular functionality and saying this shouldn't just die with the phone. When you buy a new device through us, they all come with you.
That's a pretty fascinating idea. And like I said, he's played with pogo pins and modularity in the past, and clearly this is something he believes in. He won't give up on it, and maybe this will be the thing that finally gets modularity to catch on. I do also kind of wonder, we know who Andy Rubin is because we're geeks about this sort of thing. A lot of our viewers probably know who Andy Rubin is because they're enthusiasts, they're early adopters, they're following the news as well. But outside of, us, how big of a name is Andy Rubin? Do people really care who he is? I mean, there's very few Andy Rubins in Silicon Valley. There are even, in tech and consumer gadgets and phones, there are even fewer folks that are maybe above his level, and that would be like a Johnny Ive or something. I don't really know if Andy Rubin's a household name enough to sell this phone. So I didn't see a lot about what their marketing plan would be, or what their branding strategy, or what that kind of push would look like. And that's something that I feel like is missing here as well. Yeah,
it'll be very curious to see, because in part of that Wired article, he kind of talks about how the big names want to do innovative things, but the problem is they come with so much demand. Like, he's thinly veiled, pointing at Samsung, that it's hard to implement these big, major shifts in innovation because of the amount of devices and amount of support that's required from the people that make the technology that supports it. And he's saying that puts a company like Essential in a great position to not need to be that huge behemoth that everybody buys into, but you still need some sort of awareness and some sort of support. And you're buying your phone directly from Essential, at least as it stands right now, because you're not getting it through carriers. So that awareness, I'd be very curious to see how they generate that.
And I think he's right. I think because it is a smaller company. There's more room there to play and experiment and do some crazy, crazy stuff. But nothing here really feels crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing here feels like, oh, what you're doing. I've never thought of that before. Never seen that before. Here's something that like I didn't expect, or that makes sense, or it's just kind of like, well, I could see this existing from Samsung. It seems like something, so-and-so could make, that company, or Xiaomi or whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't want to be too hard on Andy, but we'll see. Can't wait to try this stuff out in person.
Put my reservation in, so we'll see when that happens. I don't know when it's going to, there's no date on when it's going to actually ship. So there we go.
More questions.
Yep.